Welcome to Magical History. Let's get straight to the point. You've probably heard about the secret Navajo code used during World War II. But let me start with a question that might leave you intrigued. If the code used in World War II was based on the Navajo language, shouldn't a Navajo speaker be able to understand it? Well, the Japanese certainly thought so. When they captured a Navajo soldier named Joe Kiayumia in the Philippines, they believed they had hit the jackpot. Here, finally, was the key to cracking the American code that had been frustrating their intelligence officers for months. But things didn't go as they expected. They tortured Kiayumia, showed him intercepted messages, and demanded translations, and yet nothing. To Kiayumia, a native Navajo, the messages were absolute nonsense. Something along the lines of sheep, eyes, nose, deer, destroy, tea, mouse, turkey, onion, sick horse. Nothing about it made sense, either to him or to his Japanese captors. So what was going on? This is where our story really begins. The Navajo code wasn't just about speaking Navajo, it was something far more ingenious. Today, we're diving into the incredible tale of how a small group of Native American Marines crafted the only unbreakable code of World War II, one that remained a tightly held secret long after the war ended. Let's rewind to early 1942. Picture this. The United States is reeling from the attack on Pearl Harbor, and the Pacific theater is in chaos. Japanese codebreakers are intercepting and deciphering American messages almost as soon as they're sent. Many Japanese officers were educated in the US, fluent in English, making traditional military codes too slow and cumbersome for effective battlefield communication. Enter Philip Johnston. He wasn't a cryptographer, strategist, or military officer, but he did have one unique advantage. Johnston was an engineer from Los Angeles who'd grown up on the Navajo reservation as the son of a missionary. This made him one of the few non-Navajos who could speak the language fluently. Having served in World War I, he understood a crucial aspect of military communication. An effective code isn't just unbreakable, it has to be fast. Johnston had a groundbreaking idea: use the Navajo language as the foundation for a new military code. Navajo was an unwritten language with complex grammar and sounds that were almost impossible for outsiders to understand. Unlike other Native American languages, which had been studied by foreign linguists before the war, Navajo hadn't been picked apart by academics. There's often talk about how German researchers studied Native American languages for military purposes, but it turns out that most of this research was just academic curiosity focused on tribes in the Northeast and Plains. Navajo was different. Its isolation and the tribe's protectiveness kept it off the radar. In fact, Marine records confirm that one big reason they chose Navajo was precisely because there wasn't much documentation on it. That lack of written records made Navajo an ideal choice for an unbreakable code. In early 1942, Johnston presented his idea to the U.S. Marine Corps. Initially skeptical but intrigued, they agreed to a demonstration. Johnston quickly recruited 4 Navajo men working in the Los Angeles shipyards. But even before the demo, the men realized that simply speaking Navajo wouldn't be enough. They needed a more secure system. They brainstormed and came up with a method that involved word and letter substitutions within the language. During the demonstration at Camp Elliott in San Diego, the Marines were astounded. The Navajo men were able to encode and decode complex messages in minutes, a task that took hours with traditional code machines. Major General Clayton Vogel was so impressed that he recommended the immediate recruitment of Navajo men to serve as code talkers. Here's where it gets interesting. Instead of just using conversational Navajo, the first 29 Navajo recruits, now known as the First 29, developed a 2-part code that was virtually unbreakable. Dr. William C. Meadows, a historian specializing in Native American military contributions, described it as a system that was both intricate and extremely efficient, using the language as a base, but crafting an entire coding system around it. The first part of the code was an alphabet system. For each English letter, they assigned several Navajo words that began with that letter in English. For instance, the letter A could be ant, Wallachi, axe, tseni, or apple. bilasana. This created multiple options for each letter, making it incredibly difficult for anyone to recognize a pattern. The second part was a specialized vocabulary of Navajo words for military terms. Rather than translating directly, they used symbolic words. A submarine became iron fish, beshlo, a battleship was whale, lotso, and a bomb was egg, eyishet. This added a layer of complexity that made the code virtually impossible to decipher. To illustrate how effective this code was, let's go back to Joe Kiyumia. Despite being a native Navajo speaker, he couldn't make sense of the messages the Japanese showed him. Dr. Juanita Brooks, a linguistics professor at the University of Arizona, explains the code was specifically crafted so that even fluent Navajo speakers wouldn't understand it without training. It broke the language's grammatical structure and used words in non-standard ways, making it incomprehensible. Imagine trying to break a code built from a language you don't know with words that aren't used in any standard way and layered with substitutions known only to those who created it. It's no wonder the Japanese couldn't crack it. The impact of the Navajo code talkers was monumental. By the end of the war, approximately 400 Navajo men had served as code talkers. During the intense Battle of Iwo Jima, they transmitted over 800 error-free messages in the first 48 hours alone. But the story of the code talkers isn't just one of heroism and innovation. When these men returned home, they were met with a country that still denied them basic rights. Many couldn't vote in state elections or even legally purchase alcohol. It's a stark reminder of the systemic inequalities that persisted. To make matters worse, the code remained classified as a military secret until 1968, meaning the code talkers couldn't even tell their families about their role in the war effort. In 2001, the Navajo code talkers finally received the recognition they deserved. President George W. Bush awarded the Congressional Gold Medal to the original 29 code talkers and silver medals to the others. Chester Nez, the last of the original 29, passed away in 2014, but not before sharing his story in his memoir aptly titled Code Talker. If you want to learn more, I highly recommend Chester Nez's memoir, Code Talker, and Dr. William C. Meadows' book, The Navajo Code Talkers in World War II.